Hello, everyone, and welcome to BodyBags. I'll be your reviewer for today. I'm Lonnie from Tats, and this is a random week, and you guys have known that over the course, anybody who's followed BodyBags, that over the course of time that I've been on here doing reviews, I have at some point or another reviewed almost every one of Tim Burton's movies, and so should it really be any big surprise that today I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to review Beetlejuice. So, I mean, come on. I did the first one here not too long ago. Like I said, I'm a huge Tim Burton fan. I think, you guys who followed me on this channel for a while, you all know that. So, it wasn't too much out of the realm of possibility that I was gonna do this one. So, and was it worth the wait? Because that's the thing. The original Beetlejuice came out, I believe it was 1986, 87, somewhere around there. And I remember going to see that in the theater. Unfortunately, I didn't get around to seeing this one in the theater. But it was an amazing experience, going to see that movie in the theater and to see a whole new world open up, to see so much imagination, just creative style and everything just put into a movie, and to experience that was an amazing thing. And over the years, I've been a very devout Tim Burton fan. I've loved his Batman movies. I've loved even Wednesday. I reviewed season one of Wednesday. I was like, now was Wednesday perfect? No, but still, you know. But over the years, been hearing so many. It just even since the first movie came out, just over the years, we always kept hearing that they wanted to do a sequel, and just nothing ever happened. At one point there was supposed to be a script called Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian, I think that was, and then there were other things, but yeah. So I mean, for just the longest time, just nothing. And I got to a point. I mean, I just long since given up, and then we finally got it. And to me, in my opinion, was it worth the wait? Yes, it really was. This was what I wanted. This was what I was hoping for from a Beetlejuice sequel. Um, just I mean, a couple of things are different. For one, the Maitlands in from the first movie, you have the characters of the Maitlands played by Alec Baldwin, Gina Davis. They're not in this movie. It is kind of poorly explained that they just found a loophole and they were able to move on. The character of Charles Dietz, who it's kind of funny the way they worked around his character in the movie, because in the original movie he was played by Jeffrey Jones, and if you followed, you followed the news, or, celebrity news, things like this, you found out that Jeffrey Jones had done some pretty horrible things that, yeah, he kind of got picked up by the police for. So they did find some clever and kind of fun ways to work around, Jeffrey Jones not being in the movie, and they have some fun with it, and I kind of enjoy that. I kind of enjoy the fact that like they kind of, what they do with his character and stuff like that, and the fact that like in the store. Well, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm sorry. This is kind of a spoiler, but it kind of I have to kind of spoil it because it really is kind of an intricate part of the movie. Besides, you see in the trailer, you already know. Okay, the character of Charles Deeds dies. He dies a very horrible death. He's bitten, chomped in half by a shark, and everything. And so anyway, so yeah, getting into the story, you have Lydia Dietz, played by Winona Ryder, who it's great to see her come back. And all these years later, now she has kind of a psychic ability. She can see and talk to dead people, and she's doing a TV show, and she's being pressured by her boyfriend slash manager Rory, played by Justin Theroux, to basically like always be working and always be just it's all about the show. It's all about popularity and getting the likes, getting the views, the clicks, all that kind of stuff. So that's all it is for him. Excuse me. So we find out that Charles died. Lydia's father died, and so she goes to see. Was it Julia? Yeah, Julia, played by Catherine O'Hara, who is like she is so much fun in this movie. You know, you wouldn't really guess it from the trailer. I mean, from the trailer, it kind of looks like okay, Catherine O'Hara is just kind of here, but not she's not doing much. No, she gets quite a fun kind of a character arc, and she's still got that fun, kooky zaniness that made you kind of not really like her, but still kind of sort of like her from the original movie. She's still got that going on. And so, but one thing that is kind of nice though is that they do give Julia a bit of she has a heart in this, because in the first movie, she kind of came off as very kind of like mean, kind of hard-hearted, cynical, and things like that. Even at one point in the original, like when Lydia's telling them that they have ghosts in the house, that she's like, she's trying to tell Julia, and she's like, I told them you were too mean to be afraid, and things like this. But you do see that Julia, she did love Charles, and she did care about him, and she does miss him, and he did mean something to her. So it is nice to see that she has a bit more of a character in this film. She has a bit of a softer side. So anyway, so now they need to go back to their hometown from the first movie, and they need to stop and pick up Lydia's daughter Astrid, played by Jenna Ortega, who, as we all know, is pretty much right now she's very much an up and coming scream queen. From the Scream movies to Seven to X to this, it's like, yeah, she's getting up there, and honestly, she delivers a really good performance in this too. And so it's like Jenna Ortega is up and coming, and honestly, I'm here for it. Her role as Astrid is really good. She does give a fine performance. Of course, at the beginning, she's kind of that jaded teenager. Oh, I hate my life. I hate everything. I hate my mom. I hate this. I hate that. Just kind of like, I'm a grown up. Why don't people treat me like a grown up and all, that kind of thing. So anyway, so as they're coming, they're getting ready to come home, but it turns out that Lydia, even though all these years later they banished Beetlejuice at the end of the first movie, she still ends up seeing him, and in glimpses and stuff, and so she's still kind of haunted by him. So now we go into the afterlife, and then we find out Beetlejuice, Michael Keaton, who, of course, I know some people have come out and said like, Michael Keaton, yeah, yuck, and all that stuff. It's all like, I don't know what to tell you. I was one of those kids. Like, I grew up during the 80s, and when you grew up during the, to me, Michael Keaton was one of those actors. If he was in a movie, you wanted to see it. There were certain actors and actresses in those days. It's like you didn't really give a damn what the movie was about. If they were in it, this was back when movie stars were movie stars. This is back when, movie stars had power. Even if the movie wasn't that good, because they were in it, you wanted to see it. And for me, Michael Keaton was one of those actors. I wanted to see, Mr. Mom, Beetlejuice, Batman, Clean and Sober, whatever. If Michael Keaton was in the movie, I wanted to see it, And other actors too. John Candy. John Candy is a perfect example. John Candy, didn't matter what the hell movie John Candy was in. If John Candy was in a movie, you wanted to see it because you love John Candy. He was that good. Goldie Hawn is another example to me. Growing up, Goldie Hawn. If Goldie Hawn was in a movie, I wanted to see that shit because I always liked Goldie Hawn. Anyway, I'm getting way off base here. So anyway, they come back to the house, and they're dealing with the funeral and stuff like this. And Rory is like pushing Lydia to marry him, and at the same time, Lydia is trying to fix her relationship with Astrid, and I'm trying not to give away too much here, but at the same time, like, so you got 3 generations of the Dietz women. You got Julia, you got Lydia, and you got Astrid, and the 3 of them are at the same time, like dealing with Charles's death, the three of them are trying to mend fences and, try to find some kind of common ground to get along because they're family. They need each other. Excuse me. So at one point, Astrid, Jenna Ortega's character, meets this boy named Jeremy, and it turns out that this boy Jeremy is dead. And how do we know this? Well, we know because he has the handbook for the recently deceased, and it turns out that he's actually tricking Astrid, because he found this I guess, I don't know, spell if you want to call it that, but he found this way to lure Astrid into the afterlife. And the idea is that he's going to basically send Astrid off into, the like eternity, I guess. And so in the idea is that he's going to trade her life for his so that he could get his life back. Well, Lydia, finds this out, and so she needs to go to the other side to save her daughter, to get her back. And she has no choice, but she has to call on Beetlejuice for help. So, of course, kind of similar situation in the first movie. Beetlejuice comes back, and like I said, Michael Keaton fucking kills it in this movie. He is so good. He's still got it. Doesn't matter if he's in his 70s, he's still got it. So he comes back, and of course, it's a similar situation like the first movie. He's like, I'll help you, but you got to help me. It's like, I hope you find your daughter, then, which of course, his help really doesn't amount to much. But, but he's like, I help you, then you got to marry me. The same thing from the first movie. And so they go into the afterlife to try to find, Astrid, to save her before she's, sent off, to where she'll never be heard from again. And at the same time, you have this character, Wolf, played by Willem DaFoe. Now, let me tell you something. Willem DaFoe, you could tell, like, where is he at? Right here. Like, Willem DaFoe there, like, his character, he is having a blast. You could tell Willem DaFoe he is here to play, and he is having the time of his life doing this movie. Willem DaFoe is having fun. He's playing, man, like we've always seen Willem DaFoe as this very serious, very intense, dramatic actor and everything. Like this movie here, Willem DaFoe, he is playing. He is just having a great time. And it's fun to see. It's really fun to see. But then you also have this character here, Dolores, played by Monica Belluci, who is going to become like the next Tim Burton goth girl fantasy that that people are going to be interested in her. But she is Beetlejuice's ex-wife, Dolores, who she is brought back from the dead, and she puts herself back together. And there's a fun scene with her and Danny DeVito. Sadly, Danny DeVito is not in the movie very long, but when he's in there, it's amazing. It's fantastic. And so Beetlejuice is also trying to avoid. That's one of the reasons why in this movie it gives him a bit more of a motivation to want to marry Lydia, because if he can marry Lydia, it gets him away from Dolores, who Dolores is after him to get revenge for the way their marriage turned out. And there's this really, really fun, great scene. It's in black and white. Rob, you're watching the video. I swear to God, you're going to love this. You're going to fucking love this scene. I'm sorry. I know I'm kind of like going at the mouth here, but you are gonna be so jacked when you see this, because it's, it is Tim Burton doing his, tribute to Italian horror, specifically, like the classic black and white films of like, Mario Bava and everything. Definitely like a Black Sunday vibe to it and everything. You're gonna love it, but it's really great. And so there's all these kind of things going on here. And I will say, if there was one bad criticism I would offer this movie, I would say it feels like there's too much in it. Like they tried to really cram too much into one movie. I don't know if they, I have heard a rumbling or two that they might go ahead and do a third movie down the road, but I don't know. Maybe they figured like this was going to be it. And, maybe they figured they'd try to go ahead and get all of it in there. I don't know. But it's a great, it's a lot of fun. If you're a fan of the first movie, you're going to really love this. There's a lot of good fan service in it. One thing I will say though, and as horror fans, like, you got one thing you really got to appreciate. I watched the bonus features on here. One thing you really got to appreciate in this is the fact that Tim Burton used very little to no digital effects. Everything in this movie, I think just about everything in this movie, at the very least, like 97% of all the effects in this movie, it's all practical. Like, they really, really went out of their way to avoid CGI, to avoid digital effects as much as possible, and to do everything as practically in camera as they could. And it's like there is a featurette on here talking about all of that. And even like there were gags in this movie. I think that some digital effects might have been used to kind of smooth out a couple of the practical effects, kind of make it look a little bit more organic. But I think other than that, um, but I think when you look at this and then like you watch the featurette on here where they talk about like they really like Tim Burton really wanted it to look as much like the first movie as possible, to follow, have that same look, that same style, follow in that same vein. And it worked. And that was the thing, they were like, well, when we did the first movie, it was like we didn't have digital effects. Everything had to be done practically in camera and stuff like that. So, for this movie to be an appropriate companion piece to the first movie, we need to do everything practical and in camera again. And they do. And there were effects in this movie that watching the movie, I thought they were digital effects. But then when I looked at the bonus feature talking about it, I was like, wow, that too was a practical effect. Like the one you've seen in the trailer where, he shows Beetlejuice the picture and his eyes and the tongue come out and everything. Like, I thought that was a digital effect. It turns out, no, it was a practical effect done in camera. So, like, I would support a movie like this if you are the kind of person who goes on and on and on about how that they really need to cut back on relying on digital effects for movies and use more practical effects. Then support this movie. Okay, even if it's not the greatest movie of all time, even if you're not super happy with it, support the fact that a filmmaker like Tim Burton, who we've seen number of times in past projects, he has definitely come to rely very heavily on digital effects. The fact that he just sideswipes all that stuff and says, you know what, let's do it everything as much as we can. Let's do it all practical. So, I mean, there is something as a horror fan, and if you like horror comedies, there is so much that you can get out of this movie. I think you're going to be really pleased with it. I think you're going to be very, you're going to be entertained and have fun with it. I personally think that it's a good, sequel, a good follow-up to the original. Michael Keaton, he's still the man. He's still Beetlejuice. Winona Ryder, she's still got it. Catherine O'Hara is a delight. There is no weak links in the acting. Like I said, Jenna Ortega does a good job. Willem DaFoe, he is a blast. He is so much fun to watch in this movie. I just, oh man. I think you could tell. I really enjoy this movie. I had a lot of fun with it. And I think you will too. And it's what you would want from a Beetlejuice sequel. Is it a perfect film? No, but I think, especially when you consider how many years between the first movie and the second movie, we've seen movies like that where we've seen instances where, a movie is made and then like decades down the road, they finally do a sequel. Dumb and Dumber definitely comes to mind, where like the first movie was gold. The first movie was amazing. But because of the long passage of time, by the time you get to the second movie, it's like, whoa, it really just did not work, But this one does, The story is great. The characters are still fun. This does feel, to me, this seems like it has a little bit more of a horror element to it. It is a little bit darker, I think, than the first movie. The first movie had a couple of dark moments, but it was more comedy focused. And while this movie is definitely a comedy and stuff, this movie definitely has a very much darker vibe to it. So I think you're going to really enjoy it. So, but yeah, I mean, overall, just Beetlejuice. I cannot say enough about it. I was really happy with it. Tim Burton delivered again. You know, I think the only thing that would have made this absolutely perfect is if you could have, you know, if there was some way they could have gotten Johnny Depp in there. You know, I mean, you sit here and tell me that after all the collaborations that Tim Burton and Johnny Depp did, you really gonna sit here and tell me that there would have been no place for Johnny Depp in the Beetlejuice universe? Come on. You know, to see Michael, to me, that would have been a dream to see like a Beetlejuice movie where you got Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice and maybe, you know, Johnny Depp is like some other kind of a ghoul or a ghost or whatever, and see the two of them bouncing off each other. Oh shit, that would have been awesome to see. But anyway, it is what it is. So, but yeah, this movie is definitely worth it, and I strongly urge you to see. If you're a fan of the first one, I think you will really enjoy it. So that's it. So if anybody took the time to watch all this, I thank you for doing it. I appreciate you for doing it. I honestly hope you enjoyed the video. I'm sorry it took this long, but you know, yeah, you know, if you enjoyed the video, could you please leave it a like? And if you haven't already, please go and subscribe to the BodyBags channel. And that's it. So take care, everybody. Have a good night. I'll see you all later. Bye.